Hey people, Demon here, and today I'm reviewing My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission. So let's do spoiler free then spoilers. Okay, so spoiler free, it was okay. It was pretty good. I wouldn't say it was as good as the first movie, but I would say it was better than the second movie. Because the second movie was kind of slow, kind of boring until the end. Um, but this movie was pretty good throughout the whole movie. And it had some pretty interesting quirks there. Some we didn't really get to elaborate on, but some we did. But yeah, it's pretty good. I wouldn't say it was the best out of the movies, but it's the second best, I guess technically. Um, but yeah, and also it's the second time we see guns, and these ones are real guns. The first one was a gun that shot course erasing bullets. But these ones are real guns, which is interesting, and I guess that's a slight spoiler, but whatever. Um, but the bad guys have the guns, and they have the aims of stormtroopers. So, like every bad guy. Anyways, let's get into spoilers.
Just remind you to subscribe, hit that bell, like, comment, share this video, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok down below.
So, spoiler alert. Okay, so let's talk about the plot and stuff. So basically, the plot of this movie is that there is this cult, pretty much, that idolizes normal people and hates people with quirks. And basically, their goal is to eliminate all the people with quirks, or most of them, I guess, except for themselves. And basically put normal people on pedestals and remake the world normal again. It's kind of interesting, I guess. Um, they do it at one point, killing like a whole city almost. Pretty much killing a whole city. It's pretty messed up. And basically, they release a gas that makes your court go haywire. Like, there's a drug in My Hero Academia. There's a drug that gives your quirk like super extra powers. It makes it like super powerful. But this gas, it makes your quirk super powerful, yes, but it makes it go like overriding. It makes it go like crazy. So it works, but it's crazy work. Like if you have like an animal-based quirk, you might turn into that animal. Like someone turned into a toad. I mean a turtle. So I'm guessing like if it hit Froppy, she might turn into a frog. So yeah, it's pretty crazy, and it seems like you die afterwards, unless you have no quirk. So it's pretty interesting to say the least. But yeah, they're basically a cult that just hates everybody. And at one point, heroes around the world are called to stop this. Deku obviously is one of them, and Todoroki and Bakugo as well. And at one point, they try to stop a bank robbery or a diamond robbery. Not, it was diamonds, so I don't know if it was a bank or not. I guess it was a jewel store, maybe. And Deku chases after one of the bad guys. He finally finds them, but they picked the wrong briefcase, and it basically leads them on this big chase. And this big chase is crazy. Basically, bad guys are after him and good guys. Deku's blamed for murdering people because the cops are corrupt, and eventually they do figure out the cops are corrupt. Um, but basically, he's on the run from the cops and the villains, and the villains are trying to kill him, and he's trying to escape. And he has this, not young, I guess, like, probably young man, I guess. Probably like, I don't know, at least in his probably like 18, maybe a little bit younger, not sure, somewhere around there though. And he watches after his brother and sister, and he does odd jobs, mostly crime jobs because he lives in the slums. And a lot of people that live in the slums can't get normal jobs, so it's very interesting to say the least. Anyways, all this shenanigans happen. They're being chased by these bad guys. There's this one chick with bow and arrows. At the end, she fails her mission and she jumps out of a helicopter and kind of just disappears. So either she killed herself or she just ran away. I'm not sure which one they were going for there, but I think she might have offed herself for failing, but I'm not sure. um, at the end, they figure out what's in this briefcase. It's all the information on the bad guys. Um, and the kid, he hated his father because his father used to be like rich, and then he did something, he got killed, and he was like a bad guy. But it turns out his father was forced into it, and he actually likes his father again and loves him again. Um, and it motivates him to save the day. Basically, they go to the hideout. Only Deku, Shotoroki, and Bakugo go to the hideout with this guy. And they get there. They fight through all the bad guys with the aims of stormtroopers because they have guns. They finally get there, and then there's like three people with Quirks, which we'll get into a little bit later. The main bad guy, like, those Quirks are pretty cool. But they get there, they get into a fight, they get really messed up, but at the end of the day, they win, and everything kind of goes back to normal. Everything goes back to normal except for this guy who was a thief at first. He gets a normal job and gets his brother into school and his sister, I assume, also into school, and he's kind of getting his life back together. It's pretty wholesome little ending there, and Deku promises to come visit sometimes. So yeah, it's a pretty wholesome ending there. I feel like they could have done more for the kid because he did save the whole world, kind of. But whatever, I guess. They kind of just like, congratulations, you saved the world, but screw you still. You can live in the slums still. I'm just saying, but whatever. So all in all, interesting. Not as good as the first one. Better than the second one. Definitely not as good as the main story, but still pretty interesting. And enjoyable, I guess. Anyways, let's move on to Quirks. What quirks did people have in this movie? Well, there were a few notable ones. So there were some ones that we saw, but we didn't get to see much of. Like one guy turned into like this ogre almost. Got his butt kicked pretty fast. Just got kicked one time and got flown away, so his got his ass kicked. um, let's see. So he got his ass kicked, and he was like an ogre quirk, I guess. There was a bunch of quirks that we kind of got to see when the heroes were fighting against the villains. And they were kind of crazy. Like, one guy was a giant tiger. One guy had, like, these green things that came out of his hands. There was a bunch of other ones that I couldn't really tell you what they were because they went by so fast half the time. But they seem pretty interesting. I would like to see the quirks were, but they're pretty interesting, I guess. There's probably like someone on YouTube that already did something about all the quirks, like in this movie, but whatever. Um, let's see. There was a guy who threw these balls, and these balls grew in size and in weight. Uh, that's an okay quirk, I guess. There was the girl that offed herself who had bow and arrow, and she had her hand turned to a bow, and she used arrows, and they were imbued with power. So they kind of followed her will, but only to a certain extent, and then they stopped. So that's a pretty okay quirk as well. And then we come to like these three last quirks. One is this guy. He has like a monstrous appearance, and he has like these horns. They're almost liquidy or jello-y almost, that just kind of come out of his head, and he can use them to whip people. I think they come out of his fingers too, if I'm not mistaken, but I might be. But they kind of like, you can like whip people with them, wrap them around people. It's kind of crazy. He turned them into like this demon version of himself. It's kind of crazy, kind of interesting. Like a very interesting quirk. And he actually stood up to Sugar. Todoroki, so it's pretty interesting. It's pretty strong. But at the end, Todoroki did win. But then we come to like the last two quirks. This one is actually my favorite quirk out of this whole movie. And it's the one where Bakugo fought these two twins, and these two twins had the same quirk. I guess that can happen in My Hero Academia. You can get the same quirk as your twin. And basically, their hands are whips slash swords. Kind of reminds me of, I think his name is Renji from Bleach. I think his name is Renji. The red hair guy, Rukia's best friend, and then I think they were lovers at the end. I think they were husband and wife at the very end of the manga. But whatever, I think his name was Renji. Basically, it kind of reminded me of him because his like the second version of his sword turned into like a whip slash sword. The second version of it did at least. So he could like whip people, wrap it around people, and it was still had the sword blade. So this quirk really reminded me of that. And all I was thinking like this whole fight, because they were giving Bakugo some trouble. And I was thinking this whole fight, like if they actually had training with those quirks and they were actually like pro heroes or something like that, that quirk would be OP, would be overpowered. Cause you could whip around like Spider-Man, you could capture enemies really quickly. You could just do a lot of things with that quirk. It's really powerful. And then when they took I think it's like a version down of the drug, because the normal drug kills people. So I think it's like a version down of the same drug they use to kill people. They grew like 4 extra ones, so that's pretty crazy. Or 2 extra ones to 4 extra ones, I'm not sure. So that's pretty crazy as well. So if they somehow unlocked that normally, and they just had that power, that'd be way overpowered. Like that's probably one of the coolest quirks I've seen in My Hero Academia. I really like that quirk. Uh, yeah. Anyways, and then we have the last quirk that we saw. Well, that I saw that was memorable to me. No, wait, there was one I almost forgot. The Egyptian guy, Egyptian hero, he wears like an Egyptian costume, and he looks like paper, I guess, and he can run really fast. So I don't know what his quirk is exactly, but he looks like paper. He's as thin as paper, and he runs really fast. So that's an interesting quirk. But the last one, and it's a pretty interesting one as well. It's a repel. It's like a repel quirk. Basically, everything you hit it with, it repels it back to you. So no matter how much time Deku hit him, it repelled his punches and stuff back at him, and it actually stood up to One for All. At least as powerful as Deku was using it. I'm sure it was down to like 100%, or All Might's like, if All Might was in his prime, it probably wouldn't stand up to him if he was in his prime. But it was still an interesting quirk. I would love to see it as powerful as One for All, but whatever, I guess. Nothing is as powerful as One for All in this show. No quirk is. At least no quirk I can think of. I know that one in the manga, so spoilers. There's one girl that has this quirk. Basically, she says something and it does it, but I still don't think that's as powerful as One for All or All for One. So I would love to see some quirks that are just as powerful or even more powerful than One for All and All for One. I'm just saying, have some variety in there, but whatever. Just a little thing, just a little tangent on the side. But anyways, this guy's quirk repels quirks back at you. And he seems like he's modified his body with some technology as well, so that's interesting as well. So yeah, it's pretty interesting to see, and he actually stood up to Deku pretty easily. At the end, Deku got shot up and almost died. His friend got shot up like one time and almost died as well. But somehow Deku stood back up and he was okay. It's kind of weird. It's like he got way more hurt than his friend, but he's like still able to fight. But whatever, I guess. the power of a hero, the power of friendship. But all in all, pretty interesting quirks, pretty good movie. Yeah, I hope you liked this. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Hit that bell notification. That's the best way to keep my channel. Link down below to my Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. As always, my friends, stay sane. Peace.
Just remind you to subscribe, hit that bell, like, comment, and share this video. Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok down below.
Shadow, my baby, I love you so much. You're my baby. And you love to sleep in the bathtub. 'Cause you're a weirdo. Shadow, look over here, buddy. Look over here.